Hey, so for those who saw last time, I've got my daughter Annika here, and we're doing a talk about, today we're talking about The Chad Next Door. So that's by Dana LeCheminant, and I'm going to share just a little bit about how I discovered Dana. That was actually one of those Amazon things where they refer you to other books that you may be interested in. And I think I had read Censorship, which actually today is a great day. You can go get it for free on Amazon. But I had just read that, finished it, and Amazon said, hey, you may be interested in, and it popped up some of Dana's books. And I said, oh, really, Amazon? Might I be interested? Okay. And I read Love on Camera, and I loved it. And so I finished the rest of the series, loved it. And so I just started reading all of Dana's books. And so Dana agreed to talk to us about The Chad Next Door. So I'm going to try and get her to hop on. But she's not listening yet. Okay. So it'll take a second because, okay. Annika's favorite so far is The Chad Next Door. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Annika, what was your favorite thing about The Chad Next Door?
Spaghetti night.
Spaghetti night. Okay. So we're waiting for Dina to.
There we go.
Look, there she
Hello.
is. Okay. So that's okay. Now, I homeschool and I've got special needs kids, so sometimes we just can't get away from that. But yeah, so this is author Dana LeCheminant. So we have a bunch of questions, but first, do you have anything specific that you want to say about The Chad Next Door or the Love and Sun City series?
Oh boy, I don't know. Like there's a lot that I could say, but I don't know where to start. I think starting with questions is great.
Starting with questions. All right. Okay. Now we just we started talking about spaghetti night being one of our favorite scenes. But what was your inspiration to do the spaghetti scene, or did it just come to you?
I mean, with almost this entire book, most of it just came to me. But I knew I needed a scene that would get Chad and Hope together more than they'd been so far. They had a moment where they like kind of connected, but beyond that, they were basically just frustrated neighbors. And so I needed something to like really get them together, give them a chance to like show each other who they really were. And so that's where Spaghetti Night came.
And the whole slipping and falling and looking like a bloody mess, that just added to all the fun.
Yeah.
Okay. What gave you the idea for the names? I know Chad, we already knew what Chad's name was going to be going into it because that was in Love in Disguise where we first met the Briggs siblings. But for the rest of the names, what gave you those ideas?
Well, I mean, for Chad, I hadn't planned on making him a main character, so it was just like a name for a guy. And then I realized that I wanted him to have a story, but at that point it was too late to change his name because he'd already been published as Chad. So I was like, well, his name is Chad, which historically, or I don't know, it's a very meme-based name and has a lot of negative connotations to it. So I thought I was joking with somebody once. I was like, what if Chad went with Karen? Because Karen is like another meme-based name. But then, like when I started writing Hope's character, I knew she wasn't a Karen. But so that's why her middle name is Karen and she goes by Hope. And I actually named Hope before I was writing Houston's book because Houston's book is the first one that I wrote. And so there's a scene where he and Chad go to lunch and they're talking about Hope. And that's when, Chad said that her name was Hope. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's her name. Okay, cool. So Chad named her, technically.
And Hope is dangerous.
Yes, exactly.
Now, you brought up the connection with Houston. I have to say, I love how Houston connects with each of the books all of them more than any of the others. So I'm just gonna put that out there because that's coming out soon. But for the other two, it was Zelda and Link. Now those
Hmm.
names, I think you mentioned something kind of fun with that.
Well, I needed placeholder names to start out, so I was like, oh, I just need two names, a boy and a girl, Link and Zelda. So then as soon as I like typed it out, I was like, oh no, I have to keep that because it was just so fun having kids named after video game characters. So that's where their names came from.
Yeah, because see, that's what I thought too. I was like, Zelda, like the video game, isn't it? Like, yeah, huh, okay. So that's fun. Okay. Let's see, Annika, you want to ask one of your questions?
What gave you the idea to give Chad a dog?
That's a good question. Again, like writing Houston's book, I was writing the Halloween scene, and Houston and somebody, I mean, I guess if you've read the series, but Houston gets to Chad's house and they're attacked by this dog, and I didn't know what was happening. I was like, oh, I guess Chad has a dog. So there was a lot of discovery when I was writing Houston's book in terms of what happened with all the other characters. So he just Duke made himself exist, basically.
Duke made himself exist.
Yes.
Okay, what was the most difficult part of writing Chad's story?
Oh, that is a really hard question to answer, actually, because this book was so easy to write. Because I think I took a Thursday off of work because I was like, I just need a day off. I just want to write. So I started writing the book on a Thursday, and I finished it the next Friday. So it was 8 days from start to finish, and I just never stopped. Like I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but yeah, and so it just from start to finish, it just all came so easily. I would say the hardest part though was probably kind of near the end when the climax comes and like when Hope leaves, kind of getting to that point because I knew that happened thanks to Houston's book. I had no idea what was going on, but Houston sees kind of parts of that. He sees when Hope comes back, but I had to figure out like why she was leaving and all of that. And so that was probably the hardest part, just making sure that her reasons for leaving made sense and the reason like why she wouldn't tell Chad what was going on and all of that.
Right. Right. I can see how that makes sense because their whole relationship just it clicks so after that first little bit it clicks
Yeah.
so easily and just it seems so seamless and they're both so strong and they know their identities and they're willing to work through Hope especially is willing to work through things. So it was like, huh, how do we come up with that? But from reading just Micah's book, they're not together for a little bit. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
huh, okay. All right. So what was your favorite? Okay, how do I word this correctly? What's your favorite characteristic and least favorite characteristic of Chad and Hope? Which obviously you wrote them, you're gonna like who they are, but
Right.
what's the most annoying trait they have, and what's your favorite trait that they each have?
Um, I mean, I think for Chad, it's just his belief that he generally does know what's going on, but just with his inability to admit that he might not know everything, that he might not know what's best. Because for the most part, he is right. And so it's hard for him to admit when he's not. And so that bugs me a bit because he's not as open-minded as he could be. Um, and then my least favorite with Hope, I mean, I don't know if I could be friends with Hope because she's just so, not like in your face, but she's very like, she's not afraid to say what she's thinking and like just make herself known and all that. And I feel like she and I would not click super well in that regard. So I'd be like, just you do your own thing. I'm fine. Like we'll just part ways. We're good. And then favorite characteristics. Oh, I don't. There's so much to like about both of them. I do love that Hope is so open and honest and just genuine. And I love that Chad he cares so much about the people around him, even people he doesn't know. Like he's just so good that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chad, it is funny you mentioned about how he'll just dig in. And yeah, he's usually, I mean, he's a private investigator. He picks up on little things, but even from the get-go, there's this one part where he's said, no, it's this animal, even though he's thinking to himself, I don't really know, but he's going to stand firm on it, and he's going to die on that hill just because he's chosen to, and he knows he
Yeah.
could be wrong, but
Exactly.
he could be right. So, yeah. Okay. What was your favorite scene to write?
I mean, I did really love the spaghetti night, from start to
Spaghetti night.
finish. Yeah, like from like the moment that Chad runs into the rescue to the moment when they say goodnight on the steps. Like everything about that scene I loved so much.
Yeah, yeah. That obviously you've got a 14-year-old girl who's in love with the 36-year-old Chad, so
It's fine.
it is pretty fantastic. Okay, you had one more question too, Annika.
Yeah.
Something about ice cream.
Oh yeah. What gave you the idea to make ice cream the bad news thing?
Oh, that's a good question. So just for context, like every time Hope mentions like let's go get some ice cream, the kids think it's because she has bad news. And I put that in a little bit later, but there were hints of it throughout. Like, it was a subtle way to kind of show the relationship that the kids had with their actual mom, and how it wasn't as perfect as Hope seems to think it is. Just because their mom she worked really hard. She was a single mom, and just so like, I can imagine like trying to like soften the blow when you have bad news for the kids and be like, ice cream, everybody loves ice cream, and not realizing that you're making ice cream something so negative. And so it was that way of showing that Hope was kind of wrong about her sister in a lot of ways, and that like being a parent is more than just being like an act, like for real parent. Like there's more to parenting than just blood.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you bring up a good point, because Chad, that's part of his thing too, is so much of his heart went into parenting his siblings. And I think that goes into a lot of his character in why he is the way he is at that stage
Yeah.
in the book too. Not to give away spoilers or anything like that. We're trying to be very careful. But no, it is really good. And I do appreciate the fact that all your characters are nuanced. They're not all just straight, oh, this is all happy-go-lucky. No, they have real, they have edges. They have, they've got issues they need to work through, because
Yeah.
that's human. So, and so much so that the side characters, people go, wait, what about this character? When are we
Right.
seeing more about them?
Yeah.
Hank and June, who never you don't see them interacting at all, but all of a sudden it's like, hey, when are Hank and June getting together?
Right? Just for the record, Hank and June are not going to get together.
No, they are not.
I have other plans for them, so we're fine.
But that was funny. There was a conversation that did take place where everybody was going, hey, Hank and June. You're going, no,
like,
wait a minute.
Wait.
Why?
Like we don't even know that they've spoken. Like
they just live in the same town.
Exactly.
Which I will say, I do like the name of the town and the irony there.
Lake Town,
where there is no lake.
Yes.
That I find that to be just so fabulous, and it made me happy reading that in Love in Disguise. So everybody, if you're just getting introduced to Dana's books, the other series, The Wonder Boys, go back, read that. And Love in Disguise is the fourth book. It's Kit's book, and you see Kit and Skylar through 3 of the 4 books here, and they play a big role in small, really small, but they play a role in Houston's book that's coming out just next week.
Yes.
But
yes, I do.
Yeah, and I will gush more about that once that's out, because Annika's waiting and anxious for Houston, and I won't tell her anything. Yes, she's going to love it. So, but
I hope so.
Chad, we love Chad.
Chad I didn't expect to love him as much as I did, just because he was barely in Love in Disguise. He had, a couple of moments where he interacted, but for the most part, he was just very background. And so I didn't know a lot about him yet. And just when I dove into his story and more of all of that, like I just learned so much about him and fell in love with him.
Yeah,
Just like you did.
Everybody loves Chad, and it's I got Chad Next Door from my mom for Christmas, and after she opened it, Annika started going, "Oh, Chad!" And so I was explaining a little bit of the story. I'm going, "Oh yeah, it's one of those grumpy sunshine." My mom's going, "What?" And I'm going, "Yeah, he's kind of a grump. And she goes, "Well, that doesn't sound very nice." And Annika's going, "Oh, Chad!" So yes, if anybody is maybe not usually so into Grumpy Sunshine, that would be the one to jump into. It's got an age gap, but it's Chad.
And I don't know if I would call Chad grumpy necessarily. He's just very, very introverted, and he likes his space, and he's trying to get away from people for a while. But
at the same time, he instills fear in everybody else.
He's very intimidating.
He's very intimidating, probably because he just sees everything, and he's quiet. So
yeah.
So anyway, Chad Next Door. If anybody hasn't read it, go read it now. It's Kindle Unlimited. Would you say it's anywhere you can? It's not necessarily in used stores, but it's
only on Amazon. And then, at the moment it's only on Amazon.
Okay, yeah. So Chad Next Door, people should go read it, get caught up. You've got what, 9 days now?
9 days.
9 days until Houston comes out. And yes, so I will continue to gush about the Chad Next Door. And yeah. Anything else or anything else to say about Chad?
I will just say there is a series epilogue for after Houston's book comes out, and you do get a lot of Chad in there. I mean, you get a lot of everybody, but it's told from Zelda's point of view. So you get a lot more of Zelda and Link and Chad.
Yes. So get ready to read Houston and get the bonus epilogue because it makes my heart happy. So. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dana, and everybody have a great week and go read the books.
Thank you for having me.